Hello and welcome to this special edition of Tech 24 dedicated to the cities of tomorrow. In the show, we'll examine how technology and intelligent connectivity can help solve the various problems that come with rising urbanization. From water and waste management to pollution and gridlocked traffic, solutions are indeed springing up throughout the world, making the city of tomorrow more green and more inclusive. And we'll take to the streets of those cities with two electric bikes, the Cowboy and the Zoov. Along with autonomous vehicles, they are indeed some of the main smart mobility options that cities are choosing today. By 2050, 70% of the world's population will be living in urban areas. Cities are therefore faced with many challenges, but it also appears that they're at a crossroad with the opportunity to use technology to better the lives of citizens, achieve sustainable development, and adapt to the rise in urbanization. Well, Dhananjay Kadalkar is here on set to take us on a tour of the city of tomorrow. Hello and welcome, Dan.
Hello, Julia.
So what does it mean to be a smart city?
Well, Julia, the constituents of the cities of tomorrow will be connected, they will be intelligent and responsive. The smart cities will have a network of sensors, they will have, or the inhabitants will have better connectivity, and all this will result in access to services as varied as, say, pollution levels to emergency services like medical services. So this is what we'll see in the cities of tomorrow. And let's take a little tour with some precise examples. Let's start with one of the most pressing problems that we face today, that is parking. Let's go to Lyon, and at the airport in Lyon, a French firm, Stanley Robotics, has come up with a novel solution with the use of a robot valet. As you can see here, so the user of this service brings his car to the airport, puts it in a special hangar. This hangar scans the car for its make and dimensions, and then this robot, whose name is Stan, it is deployed. It launches this platform underneath the car. The robot can lift weight up to 3 tons. So it lifts the car and brings it to a specific parking area depending on the date of return of the users.
Now, another issue is to keep cities pollution-free. So what are some of the solutions there?
Well, yes, for that, let's go to Rotterdam, where a Dutch architect has come up with a project called Smog-Free Project. As the name suggests, his idea was to clean the air and get rid of the smog. And as you can see, there's a tower. It's called the Smog-Free Tower. It is billed as the world's biggest smog vacuum cleaner. And the surface of this tower is negatively charged, so it attracts these particles with positive ions, and the tower is able to clean approximately 30,000 cubic meters of air in 1 hour. This tower has been deployed in several Chinese cities and in Poland as well, and now it's based in Rotterdam.
Now, there's going to be more and more people in urban areas. We said that earlier. So how are we going to manage waste?
Well, yes, it's a big problem. I mean, we have already seen some solutions related to sensors, where waste bins have sensors so that it enables to proper management of collection and disposal. But at the same time, several startups are using a reward system to ensure the proper disposal and also to encourage recycling of waste, basically.
So it doesn't have to be high-tech. It can also be a frugal innovation.
Yeah,
it can
absolutely.
Work really well.
As you can see here, there's this Amsterdam-based startup called Wasted, which encourages people to use their bags to collect waste, and they can download a QR code scanner, and once they deposit the bag in a bigger container, which has a QR code, they can scan the code, take a picture of the bag with the waste, and they can upload it on their web platform, and in return they get digital coins.
And last but not least, another aspect to have a greener city is, of course, to be energy self-sufficient, and there are many solutions in that domain as well.
Yes, let's look at one of the examples, and for that we come back to Paris. It's a French firm called New Wind that has developed this concept called Wind Tree. As you can see, there are these micro wind turbines on the tree branches, and these turbines, they move at very low wind speeds, as low as 7 kilometers per hour, and they generate a lot of electricity. I mean, for it to be profitable, the wind speed has to be above 7 kilometers, but they can still move below 7 kilometers. And according to one estimate, a wind tree is able to produce about 83% of the electricity requirements of one household. So that's pretty impressive. So this is one example. There's another example of e-tree. This e-tree uses solar power to generate electricity. So for example, in a marketplace, you can have this e-tree and it can provide a Wi-Fi connection, it can provide a water fountain, and it can also, like here, you can have USB charging as well, and at night it can illuminate. So this is another example of how our cities, by using different technologies, is getting smarter.
It is quite smart. Thank you for that, Dan. Now, one of the main institutes that explores how new technologies are changing the way we understand, design, and ultimately live in cities is MIT's Sensible City Lab. It's headed by the famous Italian engineer and architect Carlo Ratti. Well, Tech24 met with him and asked him how exactly smart cities are changing our understanding of architecture. Let's take a listen.
Smart technology are really changing a lot in the way our buildings behave. It's about the world of sensors, of data, of artificial intelligence, and they can help do an architecture that's more alive. So sometimes, people say that architecture is like the third skin. We got our own skin, the skin of our clothes, and the skin of our buildings. But in the past, this skin was kind of uncompromising. It was almost like a corset. And today, with digital technologies, with smart technologies, we can actually make the skin something much more flexible, something that can actually follow our needs and desires.
Now, of course, these so-called ultra-connected cities are also raising issues. All this IoT, Dan, will, of course, need a network, a strong network, and we've been hearing about the rollout of 5G, but we don't really know yet what the consequences could be on the health of citizens.
That's true. In fact, there hasn't been any comprehensive study to shed light on the possible consequences, health consequences of 5G networks. But there have been concerns, and there has been a recent example of a pilot project in Brussels that has come to a halt, a pilot project of 5G network because of such health concerns. Now, the reason why these concerns have arisen is because 5G networks, they use millimeter wave frequencies. These are high frequencies compared to the 4G network, which works or which operates up to 6 gigahertz, but the 5G network frequencies can go well beyond 6 gigahertz, can reach up to 200 gigahertz. So that's a matter of concern. Of course, all these frequencies, mobile frequencies, they are of a non-ionizing nature, so they don't cause cell damage, but there are possibilities that certain high frequencies can cause thermal damage to the skin, for example.
Thank you very much, Dan. Now, the other issue that cities are trying to solve is mobility within urban areas. In that domain, autonomous and electric vehicles are paving the way. But before such solutions are implemented for good, they need to be tested in real life. We take you inside a ghost town built here in France for that purpose. Welcome to Transpolis.
There are buildings, streetlights, and paved roads, but no inhabitants. This is not a ghost town, but Transpolis, a mock city complete with a mini highway, a rural road, and a residential area. All this for the sole purpose of testing transportation innovations of the future.
Everything was done to ensure maximum flexibility and adaptability. The buildings here are not detachable, but we can add facades to them. Everything that you see in terms of traffic lights, bus stations and streetlights can be removed or added, and we can also add road markings in French or in other languages, depending on our needs for the tests.
Recreating the limits and obstacles of real city streets is essential before launching new technologies, including driverless shuttles. The abandoned buildings also have a role to play, to gauge how the vehicle's motion sensors react to concrete or metal, and more generally, to observe how they interact with urban landscapes. This truck, for instance, is testing a smart traffic light equipped with communication capabilities.
The traffic light will communicate with the truck. Now the light is red, so the truck will slow down rather than coming to a full stop, which requires restarting the engine and excessive use of fuel.
The Transpolis project is financed by regional authorities, a research institute, and vehicle manufacturers. Partners from other industries have also signed on, including a mobile operator, which will soon offer 5G services to intensify exchanges between autonomous vehicles and smart technology. But it may be a while before the new technologies hit the streets. Transpolis has a 50-year lease on the test space.
And that was Aaron Angukie reporting there. We're going to move on to Test 24. We now invite you to electrically cruise in the city of tomorrow. We have two examples here on set down. Let's start with the Zoov. I like the ring it has.
Yes, Zoov is an e-bike sharing service that's currently been tried out in Saclay, which is just on the outskirts of Paris. And its biggest advantage is that it uses ultra-compact stations. Normally bike sharing services need a lot of infrastructure when it comes to creating these parking spaces. But Zoov, it works like shopping carts in a supermarket. So there is one terminal, an anchor, and you attach one bike to it, and then the rest of the bikes can be attached to each other. This can be, as you can see, there are protrusions here, so you just attach these bikes and you can save a lot of space. So a typical Zoov station will require 4 times less space to park the similar number of bikes than, say, a Velib station in Paris. That's one part. The second part is that it doesn't have gears. It has an intelligent system that determines the speed depending on the pedal power, so it adjusts that speed. Third is that it comes with 2 battery packs. So one battery pack, it gives you an autonomy of 60 kilometers. And if you are staying in remote places, there's an additional battery pack which you can charge at home, and that provides an extra autonomy of 20 kilometers. And the most interesting part, which will be in the future models, is that you can transfer charges. So you can, if the bike is, say, at 10%, and if the adjacent bike is at 90% charge, you can transfer some of the charge from one bike to the other. So that will
also very well thought out.
Absolutely. And I think this is very important for the subject that we have been talking about so far, the smart cities of the future.
Now there's another example. This time it's a very different design. It was made by a Belgian startup, and it's a very sleek design. It's called the Cowboy. Tell us more about it.
Bike is very light. It weighs only 16 kilograms. Again, this bike doesn't have any gears. Even the battery pack is so efficiently placed in this bike frame. It's not bulky at all. It doesn't have a chain for transmission. Instead, it has a carbon belt that lessens the maintenance of the bike. And again, it also has an intelligence motor-assisted system that adjusts the speed depending on the pedal power. And as you can see, it's pretty light, and all you need to do is just
ride it.
put your legs around it.
Bye-bye, Dan and Jay.
Bye-bye.
Well, that actually brings us to the end of this week's edition of Tech 24, but you can watch it again on our website, France24.com. See you next time.